I never thought family drama could get this messy. Hart, my cousin, humiliated me in front of our staff and customers over a petty family business dispute. The shouting, the insults, the chaos, it all happened in our own restaurant. You won't believe how it ended and who sided with whom. I've worked in our family's Italian restaurant since I was a teenager, and I always thought Hart, my cousin, 38, fiery and ambitious, was more competitive than mean. That all changed last Friday night. I had just finished a long prep shift in the kitchen at La Vita Bella, our family-owned spot downtown, and the dining room was buzzing. Candles flickered on the tables, the aroma of garlic and rosemary filled the air, and everything seemed perfect. Then Hart walked in from the office, heels clicking loudly against the hardwood floor. She had that look, the one that makes you want to duck under the table. "We need to talk," she said, loud enough for a few servers to stop mid-step. I nodded, trying to stay calm. "Sure. In the office?" "No," she snapped, glancing around. "We're right here." My stomach dropped. She launched into a tirade about the new menu I had suggested. "You think you can just change things without consulting me? This isn't your little hobby kitchen, it's our business." Her voice carried across the restaurant. I heard a few customers glance up, forks posed in midair. I tried to reason with her. "Hart, it was just a small tweak. I thought it would help sales. We've been slow on weekdays." "Slow? Really? Do you even understand how much money we're losing because of your great ideas?" she yelled, pointing a finger in my face. "I can't believe I trusted you with this place." Before I could respond, our Uncle Marco, the restaurant owner, came out of the back. "Hart, calm down, this is ridiculous," he said, but she ignored him, practically turning into a spotlight for every diner. I felt my cheeks flush. "Please, can we discuss this privately?" "Nope." Hart laughed, a cruel, sharp laugh. "Everyone deserves to know who's messing up this family business, right? Customers." She gestured at the diners, who were now awkwardly staring, some whispering. My hands trembled. My younger cousin Leela, who was helping with tables tonight, tried to intervene. "Hart, maybe we can." "Stay out of this, Leela," Hart cut her off. "This is a dull business." By now, my voice was shaking. I wanted to disappear. My coworkers were avoiding eye contact, and the restaurant that had always felt like a second home now felt like a stage for my humiliation. Hart paced in front of me, pointing at mistakes from last week, budget errors, minor scheduling conflicts. It all sounded like a hit list. Each word felt like it was echoing in my skull. I tried to defend myself, but she was relentless. And then she dropped the bomb. "Maybe you're just not cut out for this family business. Maybe it's time everyone saw the truth." The murmurs in the dining room grew louder. My heart raced. I had no idea how this night could get any worse, but deep down, I feared it already had. The restaurant had gone from bustling to tense in what felt like seconds. Conversations had stopped, silverware clinking against plates sounded unnaturally loud, and I could feel everyone's eyes on me. Hart was practically dancing around me like she was putting on a show, and I had no idea how to respond without making things worse. "I mean, honestly," she continued, her voice dripping with contempt, "do you even know how to manage people? Look at Leo trying to help, and you just let things slip." She gestured toward my younger cousin, who had her head down, hands clenched around a notepad. "It's embarrassing." I wanted to scream, cry, anything, but I forced myself to stay calm. "Hart, I've been doing this for years. I know how things work here, and I've never..." "Never what?" she interrupted, cutting me off mid-sentence. "Never ruined a perfectly good dinner service, never ignored your responsibilities." Her tone made the words sound like accusations in a courtroom. At that moment, Uncle Marco stepped closer. He was usually the peacemaker, but tonight, he seemed torn. "Hart, enough, this isn't the time or place," he said firmly. "We can discuss any issues in the office." Hart waved him off. "No, Uncle Marco, it is the time. It's past time he learned what it's like to be publicly accountable. Everyone should know what kind of incompetence we're dealing with." She smirked at the diners, who were now looking around uncomfortably. Some were taking out their phones, likely wondering what reality show they'd just walked into. My knees felt weak. I glanced at the kitchen door. The line cooks were watching, silent, forks frozen mid-bite. Even the bartender had stopped mixing drinks. I couldn't believe this was happening. I didn't expect this," I stammered. "I thought you and I could work this out quietly." Hart laughed sharp and cruel. "Quietly? No. No. This is the culmination of years of you thinking you could just slide by. I've been patient, but patience is over. You need to know shame." I felt the heat in my face rising. Humiliation burned like fire. My hands clenched into fists at my sides. Leela gave me a small, terrified look and mouthed, "Sorry." It wasn't her fault, but my cousin's attack had made everyone complicit in my shame. Then came the real blow. Hart leaned in closer, her voice now quieter but deadly. "Maybe the customers should know why I'm the one running this business, then well, whatever it is you think you're doing." The murmurs around the restaurant grew louder. Some people were whispering to each other, others were laughing awkwardly. My stomach churned. My own cousin had turned the place I loved into a stage for public humiliation, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but no words came out. Uncle Marco stepped between us, raising his voice for the first time. "Hart, you're crossing a line. This isn't how we handle problems." She didn't even flinch. "It is how we handle them," she said, cold as ice. "Welcome to reality." And just like that, my whole world felt like it had tipped over, leaving me exposed, shaken, and utterly powerless. The tension in the restaurant had reached a breaking point. I could feel every heartbeat, every stare, like heat searing my skin. Hart was practically preying on my panic, her smirk growing wider as diners whispered and stared. I wanted to run, slam the door, disappear, but my feet felt glued to the floor. "Hart, stop this." I finally managed, my voice quivering. "This isn't how family handles things." "Oh, it is," she shot back, eyes flashing. "Maybe if you felt even a fraction of the embarrassment you've caused, you'd understand." At that moment, my older cousin, Daniel, who usually avoids conflict, stepped in. Daniel was 42, calm, and always tried to mediate, but tonight even his patience was fraying. "Hart, enough," he barked. "You can't humiliate someone in front of customers like this. It's unprofessional and cruel." Hart turned toward him, and for a split second, I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes, but it vanished fast. "Daniel, don't act like you don't know he's been making mistakes for months. Everyone here deserves to know the truth." My stomach sank. Mistakes, yes, but I had never imagined Hart would weaponize them like this. Her voice carried across the dining room, and I could feel the judgmental eyes of strangers like daggers. One of the waiters, trying to break the tension, spoke up nervously. Maybe we can, I don't know, talk in the back office. Hart snapped at him. No, I'm doing this now. People need to see accountability. She was relentless, circling me like a shark. I swallowed hard, trying to find any ounce of dignity. If this is about the business, fine, but humiliating me in front of our customers, that's not just cruel, that's dangerous. You're risking everything we've built. For a moment she hesitated, her sharp words faltering. That pause was enough for Daniel to step closer. Hart, think about what you're doing. This isn't leadership, it's public shaming. Do you really want your reputation and ours ruined over petty resentment? Her jaw tightened. I could see the conflict in her eyes, the desire to dominate me colliding with the faintest trace of family loyalty. Then, just when I thought she might relent, Hart dropped a bombshell. And maybe it's time. They know why sales have been dropping. Maybe they should know who's been handling scheduling and ordering all wrong, why I've had to fix everything myself. The room went silent. Even the regulars froze mid-bite. The accusation hung in the air like a storm cloud. I felt my hands shake and my throat tighten. Every ounce of courage I had seemed to evaporate under the weight of her words. Then Daniel spoke softly, but firmly, in a voice that somehow cut through the tension. Hart, stop. You're attacking family, not just mistakes. If you keep going, you'll destroy us all. You're not just humiliating him, you're shaming yourself too. A smirk wavered. The diners leaned in, sensing something was about to break. I realized this might be the moment where everything could either explode completely or start to turn around. Hart's eyes narrowed, and for a second, I thought she might actually listen. But then she shook her head sharply, like a storm breaking. No, Daniel, you don't get it. I will expose the truth. People need to see who's really running this restaurant and who's just pretending. The restaurant had gone utterly silent. The clinking of forks, the hum of the oven, even the air itself felt tense. I could see diners exchanging glances, some recording on their phones, some whispering in disbelief. My hands were trembling so badly I had to clutch the edge of the counter just to stay upright. Uncle Marco stepped forward again, his face red with frustration. Hart, this is insane. I won't let you drag the restaurant and the family through this kind of circus. But she wasn't listening. She turned toward me, her expression twisted. Maybe he doesn't deserve mercy, Uncle Marco. Maybe it's time everyone knew the real story. I felt like I was suffocating. Years of working in this family business, nights cleaning tables, prepping dishes, handling angry customers gone in a heartbeat of public shaming. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but my voice caught in my throat. Then something snapped inside me. Hart. I shouted, louder than I intended. The sound startled the diners and staff alike. Enough, you're not exposing truth, you're just humiliating me to make yourself feel powerful. The smirk faltered, and for a fraction of a second, I saw vulnerability, anger, and pride battling against guilt. Liz stepped closer to me, her small hand on my arm. Cousin, maybe we should step outside, she whispered. I shook my head. No, this is here, this is now. Hart took a step back, her chest heaving, and glared at all of us. You think you can just stand up to me after everything I've done to keep this place afloat? Her voice cracked slightly, revealing the strain behind the bravado. Hart, Daniel said calmly, stepping closer. I know you care about the business, but this isn't the way. You're alienating everyone's staff, family, customers. If you care about this restaurant, you need to fix how you handle conflict, not use it as a weapon. The room seemed to hold its breath. Even Hart's usual fire flickered uncertainly. I took a shaky breath and met her eyes. I've made mistakes, I admit it, but we fixed them together, not like this. For a few agonizing seconds, she said nothing. Then she turned abruptly, storming toward the office. The click of her heels echoed in the stunned silence of the dining room. Uncle Marco let out a heavy sigh. Well, that could have gone worse. I sank into a chair, trying to calm my shaking hands. My face felt flushed, my heart still pounding like a drum. Leila sat beside me, whispering, I'm so sorry. I shook my head. It's not your fault. It's complicated. As diners resumed their meals, awkward glances still cast in my direction, I realized one thing. This night had changed everything. Hart had won her point for now, but the battle over respect, control, and family loyalty was far from over. The night didn't end quietly. Even after Hart disappeared into the office, the tension lingered like smoke in a restaurant. I could feel every glance from the diners as I moved to clear a table, their eyes still reflecting curiosity and judgment. The staff whispered among themselves, some offering sympathetic looks, others avoiding me completely. Uncle Marco sat me down behind the counter, his face stern but tired. You okay? He asked. His voice was low, almost fatherly. I shook my head. I don't know. I feel like she ruined me tonight, Uncle Marco, right in front of everyone. It's humiliating. He sighed. Hart has always had a temper, but she does care about this place. She just doesn't know how to handle her emotions. You've got to remember, this isn't just about the business, it's about control, pride, and old rivalries. Before I could respond, Daniel came out of the office. I think we need to plan how to address this. We can't let tonight's public meltdown define us with a restaurant. I nodded slowly. Yeah, but Hart, she won't back down easily. She's relentless. Daniel rubbed the bridge of his nose. I know, but she's also human. You saw the flicker of doubt in her eyes. We have to approach her carefully or we risk pushing her even further. Meanwhile, Hart re-emerged, her posture rigid, lips pressed tight. She had calmed down somewhat, but the fire in her eyes hadn't fully faded. She glanced around the dining room, now quieter as most customers had either finished or were keeping to themselves. I want you all to understand, she said finally, her voice softer but still sharp. I only act this way because I care. I care about this restaurant, about our family's legacy. I met her gaze. I get that, Hart. I really do, but humiliating me publicly isn't care, it's cruelty. We can't solve issues like that. Her eyes flicked at Uncle Marco and Daniel. Do you believe in? She asked quietly. Marco shook his head slowly. We believe in solving problems together. You both are family. You don't destroy each other in front of others. Hart's shoulders slumped slightly. Maybe I went too far tonight. The words were almost a whisper, but they carried weight. I swallowed hard. It's not too late to fix things. We can work together on the business. We have to, otherwise we'll destroy everything Mom and Dad built. She nodded, eyes still guarded. Fine, but I need to see real results, no more mistakes, agreed? Agree, I said, finally feeling a tiny spark of relief. Daniel clapped his hands together. Good, let's clean up, close the night properly, and start fresh tomorrow. Hart, maybe step into the office and we can discuss a proper plan. She gave a curt nod, and we watched her retreat. Quieter now, less stormy than before. I finally felt like the worst of the public humiliation had passed, though I knew rebuilding trust would take much longer. As the last diners left and we began cleaning the restaurant together, a quiet camaraderie returned to the staff. The night had tested all of us, but somehow, amidst the embarrassment and tension, there was a glimmer of hope that family and business could survive even the harshest of conflicts. The next morning, the restaurant was quiet, the chaos of last night replaced by the soft hum of refrigerators and the occasional clatter of dishes in the kitchen. I arrived early, hoping to get a head start before Hart showed up. I needed time to gather my thoughts to brace myself for whatever conversation was coming. Hart walked in a little later, her usual confident stride muted. She didn't smirk or glare this time, she simply nodded at me. Morning, she said, voice flat but calmer. Morning, I replied cautiously. I wasn't sure how to approach her after everything. Uncle Marco appeared from the office, carrying a stack of schedules and invoices. All right, team, he said firmly but gently, let's talk business and we're going to do it without theatrics this time. Hart leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Fine, she muttered. But I want to make sure we address all the mistakes I had to fix yesterday. Daniel stepped in, offering a mediator's tone. Let's make a list, Hart, and we can go over them one by one. No yelling, no public humiliation, just facts. Hart glanced at me, eyes flicking with a mix of defiance and maybe respect. Okay, facts only. We spent the next hour going through scheduling issues, inventory mistakes, and menu tweaks. I admitted where I'd messed up there were minor errors, yes, but nothing catastrophic. Hart, for her part, admitted that some of her accusations had been overblown. Slowly the tension in the room started to lift. At one point she sighed and rubbed her forehead. I guess I let pride get in the way. I was so worried the business was slipping, I forgot we're supposed to be a team. Her voice was quieter, and for a moment I saw the cousin I had always known passionate, but not cruel. I nodded. I get it. I care about this place too, Hart, and I promise to communicate better. No more surprises, okay? She gave a small, almost reluctant smile. Okay, no more surprises. Uncle Marco watched us, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Good, now that we're back on track, let's focus on making tonight a smooth service. Everyone's counting on us. As we finished the meeting and headed into the kitchen, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Hart and I weren't exactly best friends again, but we have reached a fragile understanding. The public humiliation had been devastating, yes, but it forced us to confront long-standing issues that had been simmering beneath the surface. By the time the dinner service started, Hart was back to her usual confident self, but calmer and more collaborative. She checked in with me quietly during the rush, giving advice without the usual sharp edge. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. As I plated the last orders and handed them to the servers, I realized something important. Family business isn't just about profits or mistakes. It's about communication, trust, and knowing when to step back and listen. And for the first time since last night, I felt like we might actually survive the storm together. By the end of the week, the atmosphere in the restaurant had shifted. The tension from Hart's outburst was still a faint shadow, but it no longer dominated every interaction. Staff who had been uneasy last Friday now seemed more relaxed, cautiously optimistic that the worst was behind us. Hart and I still had our moments of friction, but the public humiliation incident had forced both of us to reevaluate our priorities. During a quiet evening shift, she pulled me aside while we were closing. Look, she said, folding her arms and leaning against the counter. I know I went too far. I shouldn't have dragged this into the dining room. I got carried away. I nodded, taking a deep breath. I know you care about the business, Hart, and I care too, but there's a better way to handle things. We're family. If we can't trust each other here, why can we? She gave me a half smile, a little sheepish but genuine. Yeah, I guess I lost sight of that. I get frustrated sometimes, you know? I get it, I said. We all do, but last Friday that was too much. I felt humiliated, Hart, like everyone was seeing me as incompetent. I don't want that to happen again. She sighed. You're right, I went too far. I'll work on it, promise. It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was honest. And for the first time, I felt that maybe the storm had passed. Uncle Marco came in, checking the closing paperwork. How's it going back there? He asked. Better, I said. Hart's trying. Hart rolled her eyes lightly but didn't argue. I'm learning, she muttered, and for once, there was no bite in her tone. As we finished cleaning up, Daniel stopped by to check on us. Good work today, both of you, he said. You handled the service and each other better than I expected after last week. That evening, after locking the doors, we all gathered in the small staff lounge. There was a sense of relief, of shared understanding that hadn't existed before. Hart even offered to make some espresso for everyone, a small gesture, but a sign she was easing back into cooperation rather than confrontation. I reflected on everything that had happened, the public humiliation, the heated arguments, the whispered judgments of diners and staff. It had been painful, yes, but it had also forced clarity. Hart and I now understood each other better, and though the scars of last week would linger, we had laid the foundation for stronger communication, trust, and respect. As I headed home that night, I realized the family business was never just about running a restaurant or making money. It was about relationships messy, complicated, and sometimes painful, but worth preserving. And if Hart and I could survive that Friday night and still work together, maybe, just maybe, we could handle anything the restaurant and life threw at us. For now, though, I allowed myself a small, exhausted smile. The worst was over, and we were still family.